We're going to be looking at three different terms today, three different words, and what they mean. Variables, expressions, and equations. They're all different things, they all mean different things. So if we take a look at the first one, variables. We've actually kind of been using variables since kindergarten when you've had a problem like this on your book, where it says 3 plus something equals 7. And you had to go in and fill in what it was going to be. And you're like, oh, I know what that is. That's 4, because I can do it on my fingers, right? 3 plus 4 equals 7. Well, that box there really represents an unknown number, something that we didn't know, we had to figure out. Well, there is a way to write that without putting a box or a blank. And that way is by giving it a letter instead. So I could say 3 plus, let's say, W equals 7. That doesn't mean that I have to somehow try to add that W to a 3. It just means that that W represents an unknown number, a number we don't know. Well, we do, once we figure it out, we know in the end that W is actually 4, right? So we can say what a variable is equal to, and that's solving that equation, right? So a variable is basically just a letter that stands in the place of a number, usually an unknown number. And it can be any letter. Some of the more common letters that are used are X, but it's written like that instead of like that, because this one looks like a multiplication symbol. So it looks like a C and a backwards C. That's how X is usually written. We try to avoid letters like L, because it looks like a 1, or O, because it looks like a 0, right? So there are some variable letters we probably won't use. So we generally stick to some of the ones that are clearly letters. So let's take a look at the next thing we're going to talk about, which is expressions. Now, expressions are as simple as saying 3 plus 7 or 3 plus 7 minus 2. Each one of those is an expression. It's numbers or variables with operations. So in the second one here, I've got 5x, which is the same as saying 5 times x. Whenever you see a number next to a variable with nothing in between them, it means multiplication. It means 5 of the x's. If I wrote 5 apples, it'd be like 5 of the apples, right? So 5 x's, 5 times x, plus 9. That's an expression. 3 minus 2 times y plus 9. Now, there's no way to simplify these, at least there's no way to get down to a single number, because we don't know what the x and the y are equal to, because the one thing that's missing from these expressions is an equal sign, right? And that's why they're expressions. We can't solve expressions, we can simplify expressions. So these are the words you usually see: simplify or evaluate expressions. So yes, I could simplify this first one all the way down to 3 plus 7 is 10, minus 2 is 8. I could simplify it down to the number 8, right? But we don't consider it solved, we just simplify it. On the other hand, equations have an equal sign. That's why they have the equa bit at the front of them, right? And so they have an equal sign, in which case we can solve them. We can find out exactly what y is equal to here. We don't usually go into depth with some of these more difficult ones, but I already know that 3 plus something equals 9, so the y is going to be equal to 6, right, in that one. Down here, I've got 2 plus 7 divided by 6, and then this line here, which looks like a fraction, right? This really just means division, remember, because every fraction is a division problem. Like 1 divided by 2 is 1/2, right? So 2 plus 7 divided by 6 again is the same as or equal to y plus 2 minus 3.5. And in 6th grade and beyond, we learn how to figure out what y is equal to by doing several things to this equation. okay, to get y on its own on one side, and then to solve everything to figure out what it is equal to. So those are equations. The difference again, expressions don't have an equal sign. Equations have an equal sign. So for equations, we can solve them, right? You can solve equations, you can simplify or evaluate expressions. So that's the difference between equations and expressions. And again, a variable is a letter that represents an unknown number.